You scroll through your phone, mindlessly consuming one video after another. Hours pass, and you're left feeling empty, unfulfilled, and strangely disconnected from the world. This isn't an accident. It's a symptom of a hidden war being waged against your mind, your spirit, and your very agency. A war orchestrated by those who profit from your distraction. A battle is going on in our world, a silent and invisible one. Most people are unaware of it, and yet its impact is as destructive as any visible war. This isn't a battle fraught with weapons, it's psychological, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's psychic. It is orchestrated by very powerful elites who wish to control vast resources and dictate the systems that we inhabit. These people don't want you free. They want you weak. They want you distracted, docile, dependent, feeding into their endless cycle of exploitation while they grow richer and more powerful. You know, if we're going to get very, very conspiratorial very, very quickly, there are some interesting subreddits. You know, I love my Reddit that I have foraged into in regards to, you know, the bigger questions in respects to, you know, why are we here? What is our purpose? And one subject that I don't talk quite a lot on this channel, and there's probably a good reason that I don't, is this ever pervasive phenomenon of the phenomenon, UFOs, aliens. And one of the really interesting ideas or theories about our purpose here, which is not too dissimilar to the preface that this particular gentleman is detailing for us, is the idea that human beings are containers. And inside that container, we are a spirit or a soul or an energy source or a resource fundamentally. And if there is a nefarious or sinister aspect to the phenomenon that we see perhaps out there in the night skies, or if perhaps you prefer the narrative of, you know, the elites, you know, these shadow governments and ideas of adrenochrome and taking advantage of the vulnerable, it is that terrifying reality that we are cattle. And as we'll get into in just a moment, there are certain agendas, there are certain there are certain things that act as our food, almost food for the cattle, to make us nice and plump and rich and fatty for consumption for these particular agents, you know, be it extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or shadow government alike. And that particular idea, again, I didn't just pull it out of thin air. It was actually detailed by Bob Lazar, who is apparently, from my research or my understanding, one of the individuals that has, he claims, worked on some of these vehicles that are non-terrestrial in nature. I'll link this up with some of the content as we proceed into this. The most terrifying part, these attackers are invisible. They have mastered the art of psychological warfare, striking your mind and your spirit without you even noticing. The wounds that they inflict on your willpower, your values, and your future are slow and subtle. By the time you have realized you're a victim, it is already too late. And if you try to resist, they paint you as crazy or weak, and they shift the blame and gaslight you, and the enemy, seeking to weaken you, leaving you just enough vitality to keep you functioning, producing, consuming, and fueling their gains. Again, not too dissimilar to the analogy I made of cattle. They aim to transform you in an unfeeling automation, trapped in a cycle of superficial pleasures and distraction, incapable of perceiving higher spiritual or emotional dimensions. This, for me, is a rather fascinating point, and it goes congruent with much of the material I try to bring and I suppose market on this channel, from the occult to the esoteric. Speaking of occult, maybe more specifically, one of the gentlemen that I reference fairly often is Rudolf Steiner, who actually described a not too dissimilar point in his book. I think it's Knowledge of Higher Dimensions, which is this idea that there are certain resources that we seemingly undervalue in our life, namely sexual energy, that can be the impetus behind creating what he coined spiritual organs. As you have a physical organ like a lung, like a heart, like a pancreas, you have a spiritual counterpart. And that spiritual counterpart is developed in the same essence in which all life proceeds, which is sexual, which is the very force of your libido. And if that is a resource that you have failed to attribute any kind of value to, then you are going to find yourself, as this individual described, incapable of perception in higher spiritual or emotional dimensions. If you look around at the animal kingdom, it is very easy, it's very simple to make a logical observation that we are very, very different from the rest of the fauna that exists out there in the world. And one of the things that I believe is a stalling point in that particular evolution is, again, this disregard and disrespect that we have for the sexual dimension, or more specifically, the principle of creation itself. That is no mistake. So the hidden agenda now, they are masters of manipulation. They exploit your brain's wiring with precision, turning you into a pawn in their grander schemes. Platforms like Adult Material are their weapons, not just to entertain, but to enslave. Think about it. Why is this material free? Because we're not the customers, we are the product. They are not running a charity. They're investing in our addiction because a population hooked on instant gratification is easier to control. They're harvesting our attention spans, our ability to focus, and our very will to fight back. I've made this point several different times, but why do you take a male dog to get neutered, or a bull to be castrated? When you sever the link, or let's say the access for those from those animals to their libido, to their life force, the temperamental change is rather astonishing. It is compliance. It is being docile. In many ways, I've made this point that masturbation, and PMO more specifically, is like a form of castration. It is a ploy to keep you in your lower selves, to keep you under the thumb of whatever elites, or the analogy to elite, you would like to use in your life. And it's working very, very well. Adult Material is not just entertainment. It is a calculated tool to hack your brain, dull your ambition, and drain your energy. Addictive by design. They know how your brain craves dopamine, so they overload it, they overwhelm it, they break it. Over time, you need more extreme content to feel the same rush, eroding your moral compass and desensitizing you to natural, novel rewards like relationships, family, and simple achievement, maybe a walk even in the park. Research published in the journal PLOS1 at the University of Cambridge shows the analogy of adult material activating brain regions in comparison to substances like cocaine. It destroys our relationships. Of course, if we are blasting our brains with very hypersexualized material, we fail to realize the novel attraction in simple feminine characteristics. I've often been quoted, and I don't know how much I like being quoted in this regard, but collarbones, dainty feminine hands, to me are as stimulating now as some of the things that I used to watch back in 2018, just because I'm more sensitive to it now. There's a nod to sleep deprivation here. Late night binges wrecking our sleep, leaving us exhausted and unable to function at our best. A tired population is a compliant population. They sell escape as an easy fix for your stress, loneliness, and boredom, but they leave you more broken than before. You lose your strength to face challenges and build a life of meaning. Their reach doesn't stop at your screens. Do not mistake this. Try to expose this in the mainstream, and there may be forces or campaigns to silence you. And this has been seen in seemingly experts or doctors claiming that this material is harmless. Ever notice how online searches about this material flood you with articles claiming it's healthy or harmless in moderation? That is certainly no coincidence. The very institutions we trust, such as science, media, and, well, media might be a stretch, and education, are at times influenced by the agendas of those who fund them, potentially misrepresenting critical truths. Research is distorted, news is shaped and funneled, and education is warped to normalize exploitation. They've infiltrated these crucial areas, funding deceptive studies, slanting the narrative, and ensuring that the truth remains hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed misinformation and narratives to keep us unaware and powerless. They claim that adult material is harmless, a matter of personal choice, but they will never reveal the extent to which they have engineered its addictive nature and weaponized it against us. They point to studies that claim moderation in this material is harmless, but often these studies are funded by organizations with ties to this industry. If somebody calls them out, they weaponize public opinion. You're the one watching it. They'll say, no one is forcing you. But this ignores the bigger picture. They've engineered this addiction without your consent. They've turned you into the product and the profit. And the governments, they either complicit, bribed, or clueless about the depth of this system. The fight for freedom begins with you. Do not wait for the government. Do not wait for a power or an authority figure to give you the validation you need in order to start to live your life and take back the power. What is the purpose? What is the rationale? Those who seek to manipulate and exploit others for fear, spiritually aware and independent individuals. They thrive on controlling broken, disconnected people, such as individuals less likely to question authority or challenge harmful systems. In contrast, strong individuals stand firm against wrong authority. They resist manipulation and build systems that lie beyond their control. Their goal is not just profit, it is control. By weakening you, they ensure the future generations are just as dependent and docile. A society of spiritually weak, morally drained individuals is easier to corrupt and control. I will skip ahead here because I think rationalization has been a strong and convincing one, certainly for me. But there is a growing resistance. A growing force is emerging from the digital haze of those who dare to reclaim their time, their energy, and their very souls. They represent a direct threat to this power. Their very existence shows us that a better, more conscious way of living is not just possible, it is absolutely necessary, and I would implore you to join this campaign. This isn't just about quitting adult material or digital addiction. It is a fight. It's a fight for your soul and your freedom. Reject their systems of control. Guard your mind. Protect your energy and nurture your spirit. You are stronger than their manipulation, but you must act. The first step is awareness. And I made a video previously on this gentleman, which I think is very, very valuable in this regard. Understand how they exploit your weakness and take back control of your attention. Limit or eliminate exposure to their platforms, especially adult material. Replace it with activities that nurture your growth, like reading, building, connecting with loved ones, or pursuing spirituality. These elites, be they corporations or industries, may have wealth, power, and influence, but they don't have truth. They don't have their souls. They don't have that connection to the more than 1% of the truth, because the Maya is real. The illusion is. Well, the illusion isn't real, but the reality of the illusion is real. The matrix is real, but that which governs it, that which influences it, is far more substantial and powerful. This is your battle, but you are not fighting alone, brother. Stand strong, stay vigilant. You're always in good company on this channel, my friends. They may seek to break you, but you were born to be free. You are more than their deception. You are the light that they fear. Break their chains, rise above their illustrations, fight back, not just for yourself, but for others still trapped in their truth. This will prevail. You were never supposed to be a pawn in their game. You are supposed to be free. Choose freedom, choose truth. And I thought this was a wonderful read when I read it. And a couple of people actually sent me this and said, Joseph, it would be great to get your reading and narration on this. So all credit to Sat Yamav J8. Apologies if I'm absolutely butchering that. He did make some additions onto it because, again, I have particular ambivalence to this idea of a they. Who is they? Who are these elites? He concedes that he doesn't know, but you can feel their presence in society if you look deeply enough. In my personal opinion, I think the theys are the pendulum pushers behind ideologies that would seek to keep somebody in a particular resonance which is compliant. And I'm sure larger corporations could be behind the idea of a they. It is as this individual describes. Particular individuals who fundamentally hold power are those most afraid of losing it. And the biggest threat to those people who are in power are people who are disagreeable. And those individuals who are disagreeable are individuals who have virility, who have life in them, who have their libido very, very high, who have high masculine gene expression. And again, my book, Masculine Gene Expression, just released over the holiday period, is an attempt to bring back that life force back into you and be disagreeable. Have high T. Be uncompliant. Don't be docile. And in that way, you pose the biggest threats to those particular agents who are in power. Gentlemen, these are not theories today. These are cold, hard facts. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to Masculine Theory. And I'll speak to you very soon. Take care.